Good morning. Live from Huntsville, Alabama.
It's the Pastords.
Today it's the Blues Brothers. Blue,
like
and
it.
a Bluton.
Very nice, classy kind of sweater, zip up.
This was from Peru. So this is a 100% virgin alpaca Peruvian wool.
We want a virgin alpaca. We don't want a used one.
That's what that means, Roger. No, what it means is it's the first shearing of that alpaca.
Really?
Yeah, so they shear them, every year. The first shearing,
we call it a shearing,
is the best, is the softest. It's cool to the touch, but keeps you warm on the inside.
I remember my first shearing.
I can't say as I recall mine. I recall my worst one because I cried for days after this guy did a hack job on my hair and literally mowed it like 3 inches above my ear, which would be very trendy right now. I mean, it would look everyone would love it.
Right.
But when you're, 11 years old, it's not as cool.
Well, that would top the traumatizing haircuts Grandpa Martin would give us when we visited the farm.
Yeah, he would say, you all look like hippies.
Right.
And then he would take out the mowing machine. And he would start.
That would all go away. I'm going to get you to a barber.
Yeah.
You're looking like the Beatles.
I had this wonderful memory yesterday. So I had gone to Palisades Park in Aniana, Alabama, which is like 10 minutes from our house. 15 minutes, maybe.
Is this an amusement park?
No, it's like Montesano Park. It's a recreation park.
Oh, okay.
Recreation area. But it's got old cabins on it, like 18th century cabins.
Is it a state park? Is it?
It's a state park.
Okay. Okay.
And they have this giant fire tower on it, 10 stories high.
Oh, those are fun.
And I had this, you have to have a permit to climb it, which the office was closed, so I couldn't. But it just reminded me of that great time that we went hiking and we climbed a fire tower in Massachusetts and sat up there for an hour just looking at the most beautiful, because it was this time of year. The colors were, you remember that?
I do now.
Blazing glory. The sun was going down.
Yeah.
And I just had this feeling of nostalgia and joy. And I was like, I need to remind Roger of that, because that was like such a cool experience.
We've had a lot of cool experiences together.
We have.
I think of.
Do you?
No, one of the ones I think of is that time. What did we play? 27 holes of golf. So we'd gone out to a state park. We'd gone out to. And we were just playing nonstop.
Oh, yeah. We played at least 36 that day. Tim's Ford State Park.
Yeah, it might have been 36 and 9. It could have been
another 9 after that.
After 9. And then, so it was just a glorious day. We're golfing. And then we grilled corn and steak.
Yes, we were both supposed to be writing books, but instead we played 45 holes of golf, which was more fun.
I just recalled, it was just an awesome day.
I remember thinking, all right, Roger's probably not liking this, but I remember after the first 18 thinking, hey, you want to go again? And Roger's like, sure. Oh, okay, on we go. Because I have done 54 holes in a day before.
Wow.
Did that with Wayne Griffin. We started at like 7 o'clock in the morning and just played all day. 3 rounds. I was tired. He had cramps, like really bad at the end. Like I remember he was just crawling to the truck because his legs were cramping so bad.
Oh gosh.
I was like, I've never had a cramp. He's like, pull on my leg. I'm like,
I want to do that.
I don't. Are you going to make that funny noise if I do that? Because that's not funny. I don't want to do that at all.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, I'm glad to be back. After a week in Michigan 2 weekends ago, and then a Walls of Jericho over the weekend, and then I leave Thursday.
Where are you going Thursday, Bruce?
Clarion, Pennsylvania.
Clarion, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Good old Clarion.
Going to speak at a sort of a citywide event on Friday night. It's like, I think 7 churches kind of coming together. And then on Saturday.
Wait. What's 7 churches coming to? So but open to the public, kind of
yeah, open public.
So is it sort of you pick a topic?
They picked the topic. I'm going to do Scars of Hope, which is a talk that I do a lot, because anything about suffering, scars, pain, agony, heartbreak, depression, failure, despair. Because I'm speaking on failure the following day at the 36th annual Knox Ladies Seminar and I'll be speaking twice that day.
These are two unrelated events?
Well, they're sort of related, but they're unrelated. So
Okay.
the Knox seminar is its own thing.
Okay.
But Linda Colson, shout out, who's organizing this, also got the churches to come together to do a kind of a citywide event for that Friday evening. That's for men and women.
That's a different kind of thing than you've done, right?
Yeah, it's different. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm used to speaking to ladies.
Yes.
I love it when I get to speak to men. And then when you get mixed audiences, that's always super fun. So, yeah. And then I've got a Walls of Jericho after that. Then it's Thanksgiving, and I think I'm done for the year. I don't know for sure.
Is that a good done for the year or bad?
Well, in the middle of that, I am doing a talk in Chattanooga. Did I tell you I pick up a corporate talk in Chattanooga?
No.
Yeah, on the 16th. So that's going to be interesting. That they wanted me to do the talk on joy and how we measure success. So I'm working on that in my head right now. This double whammy. How do you bring both of those together in one space? But I had done the joy talk on Catalina, and one of my clients on the Catalina trip said, "Hey, would you do that talk like for our partners? They're doing a Friendsgiving." I'm like, "Sure, I'll be happy to do that. It'd be great." So that's fun.
No, a question that, you know, what comes to my mind with the question of success is, I guess it's just the random things that flits into the brains of the Pastords, but like trying to figure out, so often we're trying to figure out decision making. We're trying to figure out the right thing.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking how often we gauge on the other side whether it was a right decision or a wrong decision, whether it was successful.
Based on its success.
Right. But then that just brings up the whole question of, well, like, what's successful?
Yeah,
and how concerned is God with our vision of successful?
Yeah, and it's funny, you're capping the whole failure talk where I talk about doing the right thing doesn't always lead to the right outcome. When I say right outcome, being what we would like to happen.
Right.
There's way too many Old Testament prophets that would say, nope, didn't work out at all. I did exactly what God said to do, and I got killed.
It went poorly.
I got stoned. I got thrown in a well. I was put in stocks. Not like stocks and bonds, more like stocks and chains, which is problematic. And yeah, I think we focus way too much in Western culture on outcomes. And by that, I mean, we positive outcomes.
Right. Of course.
But we don't often think about, hey, doing the right thing is the right thing, even if it works out poorly.
Right. Jesus
is probably the best example of that.
But again, even if it works out poorly as we're defining it, the reality is, and it's what we already know, is that so often when things go south is when God does great things in us.
Yes.
I mean, it's the bottom line. I'm talked about many times of, like, you don't develop courage without frightening situations. You don't develop mercy without getting screwed over by somebody. You don't develop compassion, empathy. I mean, in other words, these things are so often forged and shaped. So
I'm going to have you speak on Saturday.
If success,
Roger's now speaking.
It's just the reality of, like, I want to be tuned into if God does his best work in me when things don't go well, wonder if my vision of success ought to be probably the best outcome here is if things don't work out the way I'd like them to. Then
I know that God had something to do with it.
Right.
Well, and it is that whole thing of that whole talk is built around failure will teach you things that success never can. Can you imagine what horrible narcissists we would become if we were successful at everything we did?
Right.
We would be shallow, narcissistic, self-absorbed.
Not empathetic.
Never. And it would just
we couldn't empathize with those poor people who struggle in their lives, who can't get it together.
By the way, because I don't have time to get away before you. Your face cast yesterday was one of the best in 5 years.
Oh gosh.
And I'm going to be quoting it entirely. So yesterday you talked about when things go really bad in your life. Oh, we just went fuzzy for a minute. That was funny. When things go bad in your life, like you talked about a relationship that ended with her saying she was getting married in 2 weeks.
Right. And
the devastation that created for you because you'd been dating her for some time and had no idea there was another player.
Right. So right. But for context for our listeners is, I'm in college. I'm dating a gal. I'm starting to wonder, this could be going. I like, and then I call her and ask her out one night, and she's like, I guess I should tell you, I'm getting married in 2 weeks. Well, I guess that's something we should talk about.
Good heads up. Good heads up. This is the right time.
Probably not me, right? Because I didn't get the wedding invitation.
This is your proposal, which is a cool way of doing it. I'm probably not the guy.
Okay. So anyway, I interrupted you, but
you talked about a friend of a mutual friend that we have that's been doing work in Honduras, working with a village in Danley, where the entire village is built on and around a giant trash dump. And he's been doing the work there several years. Anyway, things were coming together, and there was this great opportunity and some funding opportunities, and he was so excited, and then it all crashed. Just blew up.
Right.
And it's
and he was so discouraged. Yeah.
And we're like, we're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to help people that desperately need encouragement and help and resourcing. Right. And
I'm doing a good thing.
Right. And the whole thing just blew up. And then you told a Jesus story. But what was so good was the Chip and Joanna Gaines reference.
Okay.
In other words, Roger talked about there's this day that you sort of look forward to if you watch. What's the show called?
What was the
Chip and Joanna Gaines? It's like redoing. It's the house. It's Extreme Makeover.
Oh, there's so many now. It's so.
But let me paraphrase it. We're going to redo your house for you while you're away. Okay, and they always begin it with here's what the house looks like, and then the plan for behind the scenes, the plan for what we're going to do.
Right.
And the couple doesn't know it, but we're working with them on some ideas.
Yep.
And then there's demo day.
Right.
In other words, demolition day. And
Chip loves demo day.
Chip loves demo day. I mean, it gets weird for demo day because he gets to take a sledgehammer and just start trashing the entire inside of the house.
Like we did to the Buckley house, right?
Like we did to the Buckley house, pulling the wire for Gino Bennett. Shout out to Gino.
I'm talking decades ago, one of the
first
fun memories we've had.
First cash job that I ever had. Like I'm getting paid cash.
We're going into an old house and we're stripping it down to the studs with sledgehammers.
And just
that's heaven.
Heaving stuff out the window in a giant container. Oh yeah, for teenagers. I was 16. No, I was 14. You were 16, I guess, because I wasn't driving yet.
Yes.
Anyway, that was a great job.
I shouldn't have been driving yet, but I was.
But you were. And we had a blast doing that. But demolition day, you made such a great point. If you just walked into your house one time, right after a demolition day or in the midst of it, you'd go, oh, it'd be your worst nightmare.
No, you'd be
horrified.
No, if I walk my house today and I suddenly see people they've got sledgehammers and they're just ripping up my house. What? Call the police or whatever. Unless,
and you made such a good point, unless demo day is leading to the unveiling day of the new thing. And that's the favorite part of the show. Marlene and I watched it for years. The unveiling, where they literally, they pull back the curtain. They've got the people behind the curtain. They pull back the curtain and they see their house that's been entirely remodeled, top to bottom, inside and out. And it's just gorgeous. And you reminded us that God, there was even a statement that you made about there has to be a death before there can ever be a resurrection. And here's one thing I realized, even in the Lazarus story, the sisters were praying for healing and God had something better in mind. He's like, I'm not going to give your brother a healing.
Yeah.
We're going to give him a resurrection. Now think about it. You talk about demo day, one place in scripture, not the only place, but one place where Jesus wept because he saw the pain of demo day. These people saw their life in ruins in that moment, and they didn't know what the Father had in mind.
Right. It looks like everything's falling apart. So this, for our friend, who works with these dear people in Honduras, it looks like everything got trashed. Everything got ruined. I mean, it looks like everything fell apart.
Yep.
My story with this relation is suddenly, okay, gosh, in that moment, and of course, what I referenced with the disciples, they found the Messiah, this most exciting thing ever, whatever. Okay, he's been arrested, but he's going to come through. God's going to deliver him, and we're going to see this amazing miracle, and then the Messiah is going to just take over. But
free us from Rome, and life is good.
It doesn't happen, and he actually dies. And now it's like all is lost.
The disciples on the road to Emmaus said, "We thought he was the one."
So now it's like we're starting from
regrouping.
Scratch. We've
devoted our life to this.
Right.
We've left our homes, our businesses,
and they didn't realize
Yeah.
that was demo day.
It was demo day.
It was demo day, which had to happen. Even what you were just saying, the unanswered prayer for healing.
Yep.
Was demo day.
Yep.
God did not come through. I asked him for the specific thing, a good thing. He did not do it.
And Jesus was late. That's another thing about because both sisters like, if you had been here.
Right.
When we asked, when we sent word, our brother wouldn't die. Isn't it interesting? They had a certain kind of faith. They had faith for healing.
Or no, right.
But Martha had faith for resurrection. She said a beautiful thing, because Martha, I think, gets a bad rap on many fronts, because she was a doer.
Sure, yes.
And that's a whole nother story. But she said, but Jesus, I know even now the Father will give you whatever you ask. That's the faith that moves mountains. That's the faith that says, even though my brother's dead, I know you can still do it. And he did it. And I thought about how many times in my life where I saw things just getting trashed, because even in the failure talk, I talk about all the times that I've failed, which has been a lot when I think about it. Lots of failures.
That's why it's such a captivating.
But this is where I'm going to conclude that talk, and I'll give you credit for the demo day thing, because that's such a good illustration. I always say failure can create unexpected opportunities. In other words, if you hadn't failed in this way, this other thing would not have happened in our life, Marlene and I's life, when we lost the twins in a failed adoption. Literally in March, the babies come. She's made the decision to keep them. We help her for the next month. She flies to Texas with both of those babies, and we're in demo day.
Oh, I remember how crushed. Yeah.
We're in demo day. Right. We had thought for 6 months we're going to have twins, Travis Elijah and Taylor Elisha. And in a moment, another person's decision took that, and we're just in demo day, in the ruins of it. And literally a couple of days after they left town, literally, Marlene could tell you the exact date. She's better with that. We get a call, and it is the birth mother of Zachary, our only son. And she said, I want to give you my baby because I heard the story of your loss.
Yeah.
In other words, had we not lost the twins, we would have never gotten the Zachary.
Right. That was
her reasoning.
Right.
You want kids. You've been trying to have kids. You thought you're going to, I want them to have my baby. And it's a beautiful, crazy sacrificial gift for any mother to make. And yet the loss of the twins in that sense created the gaining of our one and only son, who has now had a son. I know I've mentioned that before, but I'm just enjoying saying it more. I'm getting more free with. I'm a grandpa.
Yeah, grandpa.
Poppy. That's my name. But isn't that, yeah.
Well,
because I know some of our listeners right now are in demo day.
Well, that's the thing.
Or demo season.
And the reminder for me, and if I look back, there's so many stories, because I've gone back. The only car accident I ever had a few years back with a truck we loved. It was great, great gas mileage. It was all these awesome. But that set up getting a vehicle that has been great and done just amazing since then. It was a far better vehicle. And as I could look time and time and time again, and I've seen this reminder. It's in the pages of the Bible. It's in the pages of my life. God is always remodeling.
Yeah.
The enemy is always destroying.
Yeah, think about it.
He loves demo, but God is always
that's a great word.
What even the
Satan
enemy
is all
meant
about
for evil.
Chip and Satan are all about demo day.
No, the word
Joanna and God are all about redemption and restoration.
Chip actually means demon.
The evil one. That's great.
No, but it is this reminder.
Best line in Hitch. My friends call me Chip. Can't you get him to stop? Oh, that's great. I'm sorry. You were being serious and I was not.
No, it's what makes our relationship wonderful. And it's what makes the Pastords work, I think, to the degree that it works.
Yeah.
No, it's just God is always at work for good in whatever is going on. So it is, I think that can be a helpful analogy to think about. Yeah, I'm in the middle of demo day. And I'm not, even as I'm talking, I'm not promising how it all is going to work out. And whether you'll even like every part, I'm not going to say you'll look back and say, oh, I'm so glad that happened. Whee, that was awesome. I'm only saying God is always at work.
Yep.
When things are crumbling in our lives, crushed dreams, broken relationships, failure of any,
God is
job
always
loss.
up to something.
He's always up to, somebody said, yeah, God never wastes a hurt or God. It's all part. You're all in one way trying to say, demo day is always leading to something. God is never just destroying something to leave it. It's always on the way to a remodel. So,
yeah, it was Wintley Phipps, and I quoted him in my book that said, "It is in the quiet crucible of our personal and private pain where God's noblest dreams are given." In other words, he gives us a new dream for our life, and it's not going to be the same that it was before, but it's going to be good because God is good. It is trusting that God is good. I know we overquote, maybe all things work out for good to them that love God, but there's so much truth to it. It's something you can't overquote. Recognizing that God is always at work. And the other thing that's hard for us is some of the things that God is at work doing, we will not see until the next stage. Yes. We won't see him in this lifetime. I finished a talk a couple of weeks ago at the passage in Hebrews that talked about some people that saw great victories and successes, and they had their children raised from the dead. Just glorious, wonderful stuff happened. Then he flips the switch and said, others never saw it. He said they were sawed in two. They were tossed out. They were thrown in prison. They were flogged. And it said none of them had received what had been promised, but only with us would we receive the ultimate promise, which is the next age promise.
Well, just dawned on me, John the Baptist didn't get a see.
Mm-mm.
He didn't get to see the resurrection.
Nope.
No.
Oh, that'll preach.
In
the quiet crucible of his personal private pain in a prison cell, he wondered, like those two disciples, we thought you were the one, but what's up? You're right. He never got to see it.
He never got to see it.
I'll have an idea that perhaps he will.
Well,
certainly.
At some level, yes. And still, fascinatingly, Jesus just says, no one greater than John. Born among,
because I think their idea that might have been that when people die poorly, it's because they were bad people.
That was a very
must have done something wrong. Well, and it's pervasive even to this day.
Oh gosh, yes, of course.
I think in Jewish culture it was even more deeply rooted that, bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. Not so much.
And Jesus' final word there is, even to him, is, I'm at work doing. Trust me,
because
trust me was his response.
Going back to the demo day, because he had this long talk with them before he went to the cross, and then he told them something that made him more sad than even him dying. He said, "I'm going to ascend to the Father. I'm going back to my Father." So they're thinking, understandably, he's going to die and then be with his Father, but they're never going to see him again. You see what I'm saying? He said, "You're going to be looking for me, but you won't be able to find me." So I think in their mind, they're processing it. But then he says this, they didn't realize it was post-resurrection, that he was going to be with them for 40 days. But he said, but I'm going. He said, your sorrow will turn to joy. I'm going to prepare a place for you. Now think about that. God's working behind the scenes. Jesus is right now preparing a place for us.
Yeah.
Think about that. The joy of creating everything, the heavens and the earth as we know it now, and Jesus getting a redo on all of that, preparing a place for us. That's beautiful.
Well, when you think about it, the whole human journey is a kind of demo day. In other words, whenever sin entered into the world, now this is when you had crushed dreams and rejection and people leaving you. and financial loss and sickness and death and all that becomes the human story. But the beautiful thing is in the when that first emerges, Jesus almost says, yeah, but here's what's going to come. I'm at work. You guys have made a mess of things. Adam, Eve, you have no idea how
Roger.
badly you've screwed things up. But already I'm at work. I'm already at work on a remodel.
And think about, Roger, when you think about Adam and Eve and how many thousands of years it took before Jesus actually hits the planet, 4,000 to 8,000 years, depending on how you do Bible numerology.
It was a really long remodel.
And yet Paul argues, I think it's in Romans, he said, at just the right time, while we were still powerless, demo day, Christ for our sins. At just the right time. When I read that, I'm like, yeah, we would have said that's going to come in 100 years, maybe. 100 years is a long time. Thousands of years later, the Messiah comes, and demo day becomes the long demo day, becomes resurrection day.
And the same thing happens after Jesus shows up and he says, "Oh, I'm coming back." And it sounds like
right now, like pretty quick.
Yeah, a few years. Hang on. And
it's been 2,000 years.
2,000 years. We're still in demo day. The remodel isn't completed.
Nope.
But he's preparing a place. He's prepared, and just the right time. The Father knows.
That's right.
Just the right time.
Because Jesus even argued in his human form. He said, "Yeah, I don't even know that time and date. Only the Father knows that." Isn't that interesting?
Oh, I love that.
It's the same thing with James and John. You talked about that. Wanting to be on the right hand and left hand. He's like, well, hey, you have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, no, we do. We do know what we're talking about. He's like, okay, well, you're going to be baptized. But it's interesting. Jesus said, it's not mine to give. This beautiful deference. But, we talked about the deference between the Trinity so many times.
It's not mine to give. And even to the disciples then, it's not mine to know. So even you think about, Bruce, the comedy of we're still trying to figure out what Jesus doesn't know.
Exactly. Right. I can pinpoint, with the war in Israel and
now the picture has become crystal clear after this. Now we know some things we did. And it's like, I know more than Jesus. He didn't know the day or the hour, but listen, I have figured it out.
But I've got it figured out. No, I'm remembering a quote that has to do with demo day and restoration by Francis Havergal. And I had found this a couple of weeks ago, but he says, God is preparing you for what he's prepared for you. I thought, oh, that's good. That's good. God is preparing you for what he's prepared for you. A lot of the hardship and pain and the demo days that we're going through, because God is preparing us for something, and he's going to use that in this new space that he's prepared for us. When I even think about why do I get asked to speak on hope? Because I've journeyed through suffering and sorrow and loss and pain and depression and difficulty, but it gives me credibility. It prepared me to give others hope that are in the same place. Right. I couldn't do what I do except that I've lived the life that I've lived. And still, when I look at the pain and difficulty in my life, you're
still in demo day.
Still in demo day, but I also had this crazy thought over the weekend. I was driving back from my Walls Jericho trip, and I just like talking to the Lord. I'm like, if I died tomorrow, I have lived a lifetime in less than 60 years. Yeah. I mean, my life is rich and full and friends and opportunities and purpose and all of that. And all of that, how long I have, it's all in God's hands. And I don't think my best years are behind me. That was that whole age 50 thing. I did start working on, I know we're running out of time. I started working on my blog post, Reflections on Turning 60.
Oh, good.
And they're interesting. They're different than the ones that I did when I turned 50. Or actually, I think I did it at 54. They were good then, too.
Well, maybe that's next week. Maybe we'll think about Bruce's reflections on approaching...
Episode 3 of season 15, You Cannot Stop Us.
Right.
We are the Pastords.
For now.
You're not. Thank God. was a good finish. I like that. That was perfect. And we're out.